Welcome back, everyone, to the Chiefs Catalyst podcast, designed to provide short, insightful, and informative episodes for the dynamic public safety leaders of today. The Chiefs Catalyst is for those who are looking for ways to streamline their departmental operations and increase efficiency and effectiveness through people, strategies, and technologies. If you like what you hear or want to discuss a topic further, send us an email at catalystpodcast@proton.me. Well, thank you for joining us again for another episode of the Chiefs Catalyst. If you've tuned in before, you know that our podcast has talked about the business of law enforcement. We focused on law enforcement data, how to get it, where it comes from, and places that you can record it at, as well as the role of the crime analyst and the master of data. But today I wanted to take a quick break and talk about some more of the strategic side of law enforcement as it relates to implementing strategies and technologies at public safety entities. Part of today's podcast came from research that I did as part of the FBI's Center for Strategic Thinking and Education in Public Safety, the C-STEPS program. If you're interested or would like more information on that, you can contact your local FBI Office of Partner Engagement. In the United States in 2024, we know that we're operating in the most diverse workforce in history. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the number of U.S. workers over the age of 55 has steadily increased over the last 20 years. Now, this applies to every profession, including public safety, and there are both benefits and challenges associated with it. In law enforcement, police agencies are tasked with combating complex criminal networks that are growing more creative and disruptive each year. The types of offenses remain the same as centuries past. No matter which offenses are committed, they're constantly taking on new forms of how they are committed. This leaves law enforcement with a choice: continuing to practice a reactive approach or implementing evidence-based, proactive approaches to crime reduction through policing strategy. However, there is no one-size-fits-all method to reduce crime or enhance public safety. Jurisdictions and priorities are unique for every agency, even ones that border one another, and police leadership have to select and implement crime reduction strategies that are tailored to their specific area of responsibility. With the continued development of technology applicable to law enforcement, leaders must also work to implement technological solutions that complement their crime reduction strategy to have the greatest impact with the resources they possess. The challenge for these progressive leaders in this era of law enforcement is how to effectively lead a multi-generational workforce through some of these strategic and technological changes. At the department that I work for, a mid-sized department with less than 65 sworn just in the DFW North Metroplex area, leadership has been working to identify effective leadership theory to practice to develop a whole agency participation in crime reduction strategy and the use of technology with the goal of enhancing public safety. Throughout a study on leadership and theory in practice, there are several theories that show potential for being effective solutions to guiding a multi-generational workforce. The first is the skills-based approach. Under a skills-based approach, anyone has the potential to be a leader. It focuses on the development of an individual's technical, human, and conceptual skills depending on their position within an organization. At the department I hail from, the diverse members of the department possess great technical and human skills. Senior members of the department rely on deep knowledge pools of technical skills they possess to train and develop less experienced officers. But to recognize the need for new strategy and technology, they require further development of their conceptual skills. Both the chief and the assistant chief, where I hail from, have worked to grow command staff level leadership's conceptual skills to see the need for policing strategy paired with technology. Though successful in developing these skills with most of the command level staff, there has been less success in building up the conceptual skills of line level personnel. A second possible theory of leadership that might prove effective in leading a multi-generational workforce is an authentic leadership style. Authentic leadership practices include leaders being morally grounded, building trust, showing care for the individual needs of department members, coupled with transparency. In law enforcement, as we work in a dynamic environment, transparency in decision making and showing care for the individual needs of department members can help build trust in leadership as they guide a department through major changes. While this may help senior department members outside the command level have faith in the strategic and technological changes that a chief has implemented, there's still a challenge of garnering whole agency participation, which is essential to the success of implementing a new policing strategy, which is a change in business model. For agencies implementing this change in how day-to-day activities are handled, an agency mindset, there's a need for leadership to encourage a change in behavior from personnel, regardless of their level of experience or expertise, to practice the strategies put into place and use technology that has been provided, even if they lack confidence that it can be done. This is indicative of the need for leadership to not only practice a style of leadership that shows care for individuals and builds trust through an organization, but also influences and inspires personnel whether they are part of a command staff or on the front lines. The third possible theory this research identified for law enforcement leadership to practice when implementing strategic and technological changes in a multi-generational workforce is a transformational leadership style. Transformational leadership theory focuses on inspiring and influencing followers to accomplish more than they thought was able. I'm going to say that again. Transformational leadership theory focuses on inspiring and influencing followers to accomplish more than they thought was able. It creates an environment where employees feel valued, are positively challenged, they're intellectually stimulated, and there's care demonstrated for their psychological well-being by leadership. Now, Dr. Santos and Dr. Santos in their book noted the need for encouraging a change in agency behavior when implementing a new agency strategy. A transformational leadership mindset is likely the most effective leadership theory for law enforcement to practice when implementing strategic and technological changes in a multi-generational workforce. As noted a little bit earlier, the compilation of today's workforce is highly diverse in age demographics and levels of experience. My home agency is no different. Approximately 1/3 of our staff has the strongest experience. I'd say 12 to 20 years of service. A third has what I'll categorize as mid-range experience with 5 to 12 years of service. And the final third has the least experience of the department with less than 5 years of service. The challenge for this department's leadership has been to bring all three levels of experience into the same level of shared institutional knowledge and practice of the chief's selected evidence-based crime reduction strategy. In our case, the stratified policing accountability model. Sworn staff with the least experience are the simplest to mold. They have fewer habits and are willing to engage in any behavior that's recommended by the chief and their chain of command in order to be successful at the department. Those with the most experience display the most skepticism for implementing new strategies due to past experience at other departments with failed agency changes and are likely to continue to do so if there's poor education and unreasonable expectations placed upon them. The mid-range staff leans towards the mindset of those with the most experience, but are willing to adapt to change if it is seen to benefit their own professional growth. For example, promotion or selection to specialized units such as the Criminal Investigations Division or the Special Response Team. Therefore, there's a need for an agency like mine, leadership, to practice a leadership style that inspires and influences personnel across an entire agency to practice these strategic and technological changes. As noted a little bit earlier, transformational leadership involves inspiring and influencing followers to do more than they thought was able. But this is historically challenging in a paramilitary environment found in most law enforcement entities across the United States. When practicing transformational leadership as a motivational theory, and in order to accomplish inspiration, leadership has to possess an understanding of followers' motives. Understanding the follower's motives builds on the concept of the individual consideration aspect of transformational leadership, and leaders can capitalize on these motives to effect positive change towards the desired behavior. Follower motivations include things like power motives, inspirational motives, affiliation motives, individual consideration, achievement motives, and intellectual stimulation. Ioano and others in their research take this one step further in their hypothesis that building a follower's psychological capital coupled with transformational leadership practices equals greater work engagement from personnel and contribution to higher levels of organizational citizenship behavior. This psychological capital relates to how followers can be optimistic, resilient, or how they value themselves. Organizational citizenship behaviors are behaviors that are exhibited by followers which fall outside of the normal scope of their job but continue to contribute to the success or performance of the organization. When practicing transformational leadership, the objective is to motivate followers to accomplish a common goal, in my department's case, transforming the strategic and technological changes from theory into common practice. Like we've discussed in prior podcasts, our leadership has selected the stratified policing accountability model as our overarching crime reduction strategy and worked to implement various technologies to assist with information sharing and crime reduction. It's necessary to obtain a high level of work engagement from personnel for these strategies and technologies to be successful, as they are the ones on the front lines actually doing the work. All the tools in the world can be given to those on the front lines, but if they don't put them to use, then they're wasted. Practicing a transformational leadership style can assist in garnering this engagement across a multi-generational workforce. As leadership works to increase employee engagement in new practices, the education process is an important component in learning style, as learning styles vary across generations. The workforce of 2024 is compiled of Gen Xers, Gen Yers, and the baby boomer generation. Each has a different style of learning developed from school age and have different needs that must be met when attempting to successfully develop new skills. Therefore, leadership has to partake in individual consideration of each employee when practicing a transformational leadership style. Relational capital must be developed to recognize needs and understand how to effectively meet them. All generations benefit from understanding the why and the how value of what is being implemented and has a direct impact on better job performance. However, some of the differences in generational learning styles include offering flexibility for boomers when implementing new technology, creating a hands-on experience for Gen Yers, and using technology to teach Gen Xers. It's difficult to inspire personnel to achieve new common goals if leadership cannot identify and respond to some of these needs. Additionally, leaders have to build trust with followers in order to inspire them to do more than they thought they were able. This can be done by investing in and taking care of people, which is an aspect of authentic leadership, but also by being transparent and communicative. When people feel heard and valued, it not only increases trust in leadership, but builds their psychological well-being. Further, if people feel cared for, have good psychological well-being, and understand the changes that are being made, they make less self-serving decisions and exhibit more organizational citizenship behaviors, which has a positive impact on organizational performance. With the end goal in mind of bringing positive change to an agency through strategic and technological changes, leaders must work to be flexible and bridge age gaps. This can be done by leveraging the crystallized intelligence possessed by senior department members to help develop the skills of those with less experience. Leaning on senior members' knowledge and experience is also beneficial when staff members are called upon to be creative and solve unique problems. However, experience does not always equal leadership capability, and in today's workforce, while there is diversity in age, there is also a diversity of education. In the modern police department, less experienced department members often walk through the door with higher levels of education than their supervisors. Agency executives, chiefs, and command staff are also typically more educated than ever before due to the prevalence of advanced leadership training programs that target public safety leaders, such as the ILEA School of Executive Leadership, the FBI National Academy, or the LEADMIT Leadership Command College. These bookends of education at the top and bottom of police organizations have created a need for mid-level managers to be educated in leadership skills and held accountable for their practice in order to effectively implement desired changes set forth by agency leadership. This is an absolute requirement if agencies are going to implement new policing strategies. It's not just a fad, it's a new way of doing business. So, to conclude our discussion today, we've discussed the need for law enforcement leadership to exercise leadership theory that is effective in guiding a multi-generational workforce through implementing strategic and technological changes. While there are several possible theories that could apply, such as a skills-based approach or an authentic leadership practice or transformational leadership practice, transformational leadership is likely the most effective style to effect positive change in these organizations. Transformational leadership practice is well suited to help leaders achieve goals that require total agency participation through building trust by considering individual needs, developing personnel, and challenging employees towards a common goal. The key is using these practices to inspire and influence personnel to achieve employee behavior that turns strategy into action. This can only be accomplished when employees feel valued, have trust in leadership, and are brought to a level of common understanding through education on how strategic and technological changes being implemented help them do their jobs better. Individual consideration not only helps to build an employee's psychological well-being, but also contributes towards greater organizational citizenship behavior and organizational performance. Finally, as this is not an explicit or exhaustive list of practices, leaders must remain flexible and adaptable to understanding employee needs and how they can be met. If leaders in law enforcement can work to keep these in focus while leading a multi-generational workforce through strategic and technological changes, the outcome looks like crime reduction and increased public safety for all. If you enjoyed our discussion today on the Chiefs Catalyst podcast, I've dropped all of the references that I took into consideration when researching this content in the comment box below. Like I said, this was done in part as a project with the FBI's Center for Strategic Thinking and Education in Public Safety, the C-STEPS program. If you'd like more information, you can reach out to your local FBI Office of Partner Engagement office or drop me an email at catalystpodcast@proton.me. Thanks for joining us today.